Welcome back to another Locals report. I know that the last one I posted was 3v3 in London, so it feels good to be back at my local scene. So we'll just cut to the chase and get stuck in. I just wanted to show off two lots of the new Alamiris that one of my friends at Locals gave me, so that was really nice. So a quick foray into the ratios that I run this time. So I decided to go for three Pudica as well as 2 of the field spell this time, just to see if I could get any more plus off that and experiment. I'm just going to put 3 pots just next to it. Going back to the core, standard 2 Arachnocampa, 2 Dionea. I still had Exceed, 3 Lancia, which I've found has just worked amazingly to protect from evenly, as well as stop people from potting on their turn. 3 Holotia, of course, and then I run 2, 2, and 1. I cut down to 1 Traptrix Traphole Nightmare because I don't think it has, you know, the best matchups right now, because you can't destroy things like the Labyrinth. Well, actually, no, you can, but it has to be on the turn that they're special summoned, and often, if they've already got her out, you're already behind. So I found that kind of not helpful. 3 evenly matched and Terrors of the Overroot. So I don't know if you can instantly notice that one of the first things that I've cut out is actually Imperm. I decided to cut out 3 Imperm to make room for Terrors of the Overroot, as well as my extra Pudica and Traptrix Garden. So I'll go into how I found that in a bit. Just to go through the extra deck, so 3 Serra, 2 Atopus, 1 Rafflesia. So I actually cut down, because personally I didn't find I actually make Rafflesia more than once per game. Usually it's my go-to when I'm going first. And then if I'm going second, I tend to take a more aggressive route. So I may well go into Pingicula. So I've got 2 of her, 1 Alamiris, 1 x 3 Dua. I decided to add in Baguska, because I've seen some builds with that in, so I thought I'd add it there. Lingarobo still in case of Cricketer Ibli, which I still haven't seen, and this package. I don't know, I must have just had a very smooth brain moment at some point, because obviously I tried this out in the 3v3 in London and explained how you can't actually do Utopia, this, and Zeus, because number S39, Utopia the Lightning, doesn't actually let you use it as ICSI material. So I'm going to make some changes, which I'll go into at the end of this video to this sort of package. In terms of my first matchup, I actually went up against Branded. So I find Branded can be a bit tricky sometimes. It's a case of whether or not you draw the Ash, and unfortunately I don't think I drew the Ash. I ended up drawing 1-1 in time. I lost the first game because I just couldn't out-resource them, and I didn't get any of this. And then game 2, I just did Gravedigger's Traphole, I think when they activated Tragedy in Graveyard. And then won because, you know, game 1 took so long. I think one of the main things that I took away from the Branded matchup was actually chain linking. So I'm still kind of getting my head used to the fact that things like summons of monsters are actions that do not start a chain. Chains can be built on top of them. So what happened was my opponent summoned Lubellion, one of the big dragons, standard opening move, and so that was the last thing to happen without starting a chain. And then because it's my opponent's turn, they go Chainlink 1, Lubellion effect to fuse using itself, and then Chainlink 2, Despian Tragedy to add from deck to hand, because they had to discard the Despian Tragedy to activate something on the previous chain. So they go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, and then I had the opportunity to respond. Now, I had a field full of stuff. So I had Rafflesia on board, and then I also had, I think, Gravedigger's Traphole set on the field. So I was like really confused because I was like, what do I activate? Like, they all say when, so they're all triggers. Am I gonna miss the timing? So actually the correct answer is Chainlink 3 has to be Gravedigger's Traphole, because that has to chain on to Despian Tragedy. If I were to say Rafflesia and go Floodgate Traphole first, or some other Traphole in response to the summon, then I would have basically blocked myself by using Chainlink 3 as something else. I couldn't have done Gravediggers as Chainlink 4. However, the key take-home message of this little ramble about chaining is that you are responding in the chain to the thing that did not start the chain. So the thing to happen was the summon of the Lubellion. So you can actually activate Floodgate Traphole as Chainlink 4. Not that it would have made much of a difference, because Floodgate Traphole doesn't negate, and they can still fusion using face downs, so it wouldn't. But that's just to know, okay. And I think that's a big learning point for me to kind of know what I can chain on top. So I moved on to my second matchup, and that was versus Traptrix. So I thankfully won the dice roll, which meant I kind of basically won because of that. It's a case of who can set up Rafflesia first, or who can sort of Pudica and out-resource the other person. Or draw a trap that happens to deal with something non-Traptrix related, if, for example, they use Exceed or something like that. So that was fairly straightforward, to be honest. And then my third matchup was against Mathmech. Now, I find Mathmech a really tricky matchup because I feel like it's hard to know when to interrupt, and they've got so much gas. Mathmech Diameter is also, I think, one of their vanilla monsters, and I believe that if they go into their boss monster, XYZ Alan Bershan, I believe, it's like an XYZ big boss with like 2 or 3 materials underneath it. If they have Diameter underneath that, I think it turns the Alan Bershan into an Omni Negate. So it's kind of important to try and interrupt before they get to the Alan Bershan. So game 1, I managed to kind of hold my own a little bit and stop his access code from OTKing me. But when it came to my turn to try and break his board, I completely forgot again that this package I can't go into Zeus. So I'm definitely changing this out. Game 2, I decided to side Ghost Spell, and he's a really nice guy, and we're all friends at Locals, and he basically said, if you're going to use the Ghost Spell, save it for the Mathmech trap, the Mathmech Superfactorial, because they'll set it on board, so they've got it, right, because they have to search it off something and set. And then when it comes to your turn, when they try to activate that, you basically drop the Ghost Spell, because their trap card lets them special summon 3 monsters, Mathmechs, from their graveyard, and then immediately Ixie or Synchro Summon. So the Ghost Spell just stops them special summoning any of that and stops them dead. So that's a way of getting over that advantage. But I have to say the Mathmech opening board, it is pretty strong. I think they often end on like a Linger Rebo. They might have an IP Masquerina as well. They'll have the Superfactorial. They've got a lot of ways to deal with you. So yeah, I decided in Drawn Lock birds as well. I should probably show you my side. So I got 3 Solemns, 3 Drawn Locks, Godala, Ghost Spell. So I think I sided in Godala against him, as well as Ghost Spell, Drawn Locks as well. But I just didn't really see anything apart from 1 Ghost Spell. So it wasn't great. So I lost pretty quick. So that's definitely one matchup I just need to clue myself up to more and know when to interrupt. Matchup 4, I went against a 60 card Swordsoul D-Link DPE kind of deck. Mainly probably Dragon Link, because the guy usually plays Dragon Link but decided to mash other stuff in this point. And this card absolutely pulled through for me, because obviously it shuts down D-Link because they just need to banish everything, and also it kind of shuts down Swordsoul a little bit, but not as much as Drawn Lock. So I managed to droll him and Lancia him, so he just couldn't set up board at all, because they do so much drawing off and adding off Emergence, and so that's what I did. He activated Emergence, I drolled him, and that was pretty much it, because he's not going to get the draw or the search. Sorry, when he synchros using Moyi. Into what's it called? Chenying or Qi I can never remember, but yeah, the cute combo where they do chaining 1 Qi chaining 2 Moyi. I can't remember, I'm not a Swordsoul player. So I won that on 2-0 with 12 minutes on the round, and I gotta show you this super cute combo of my own that I managed to pull off against him. So he had a Baron on field, some other stuff, whatever, and I think I had some random XE monsters, or I just XE material. I just had maybe a Holutia and Mantis or something on board. So I have a Godala in hand, and basically they had a bronze. So I was like, I've got to get rid of bronze. So I give the Godala to him, and then I managed to make Alamirus with whatever I had on board. You can see where this is going, right? So I made Alamirus using stuff on board, and then I had, I think, Holutia in graveyard. And then either banish the Holutia or I detached 2 off Alamirus. I probably detached 2 off Alamirus to special summon Pudica from graveyard. So when Pudica is special summoned, you get to target and banish 1 monster your opponent controls. So I banish the Godala, and then that triggers Alamirus, which will pinch the special summon monster and swing it back to your field. So that was kind of cool, getting rid of the Baron, and then getting my Kaiju back to once I've cleared the board. So that was the first time I managed to get off the Alameris, you know, Pudica combo. So I was really happy with that because that's something that I've been wanting to utilize, and I talked about on my last video that was like a goal for me with this deck, is to utilize those, the Alameris and Pingicular snatching effects a little bit more. So I was happy with that, and I won that. Fifth and final matchup, I went against my boyfriend who plays Labyrinth, and it made me so salty. I think I just sulked in the car all the way home because I think he won the dice roll, so obviously that was not good anyway. And all 3 games he got skill drain in his opening hand, and this deck just dies to skill drain. And game 1, I tried to grind it out in order to keep drawing Terrors of the Overroot, in order to try, but I just didn't see this at all, because this can do is spot removal basically, and would have got rid of the skill drain for me. So I scooped game 1. Game 2 I got skill drained again, but luckily I had Time Thief Redoer with a Holy Tear underneath it. So when he activated it, I could just chain Time Thief Redoer, detach the Holy Tear, and then spin the skill drain before it resolves back to his hand, and then I could continue with my day. So he scooped. I went to game 3. He managed to flip Imperial Iron Wall on me, and also skill drain. So even though I had, I think, Harpy's Feather Duster as well as Cosmic Cyclone in hand, I was kind of stuck. I think he'd already revealed Lord of the Heavenly Prisons. Even if I Harpied stuff, only his set stuff would have been protected. I didn't realise that at the time. Basically, Lord of the Heavenly Prison only protects set stuff. So as soon as the gates are flooded, as soon as he's flipped Skill Drain and Imperial Iron Wall, they are actually susceptible to Harpy's Feather Duster. So I think I was just a bit done by that point because I'd got skill drained 3 games in a row. But that's something I could have done, but I think we debriefed it after, and I don't think it would have made much of a difference because he had 2 compulsory activation devices set as well, so that would have just bounced anything I try to normal. And obviously, you know, the main deck monsters aren't immune to all traps, they're only immune to whole traps, so they're still able to be compulsed, basically. So it was a kind of a frustrating locals. I basically won against Traptrix Mirror, I won against the 60 card Swordsoul DPE kind of mashup, you know, with D-Link, and then I drew against Branded and lost against Traptrix and Mathmech. So, in terms of changes I'm making for my next locals, which is not too far away, I've made some fairly significant main deck switches. So I think I have put 3 Imperm back in as well. Because there's such a good going first, going second. It gives me a discard fodder for Holy Tear if I'm desperate. I know this might be a slightly hot take, but like I removed Parallel Exceed to try and make room for some other stuff. I put in Raigeki because I feel like half the time statistically I'm going to be losing the die roll. This deck, if you go first, you should really be winning like 55-60% of the time. This deck needs help going second. We can't play board breakers like Rasphere mode or Lava Golem because we need our normal summon. It's too normal summon, you know, reliant. So I thought I'd go Raigeki, keep the Lanciers, keep the Ash. I can't remember if I kept Terrors. I think like last week was probably not representative of the performance of this card. So I think I just need to stick it out a bit more and just see. Because I think obviously different players have different preferences. You know, I don't think there's a right answer. I think the more builds you look at, the more they all start to look the same. And then instead of this slightly frustrating Zeus package, I think I'm going to go for a Zodiac package. I think it's Borbo and Shakanin that you can, you just poke them directly for like 0 damage and then you just put a Zeus over it. So I'm going to go for that instead. Other extra deck spice, I'm quite happy with this, to be honest. The minimal Traptrix package. Atopus I could go down to 1 potentially to make more room. So yeah, so I think that was quite a short and sweet locals report. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be posting soon with another locals video, and I've also got that crafts video as well to upload, and it's how I make custom tokens. So yeah, see you soon.